It's time to start the show.
Hi, I'm Bill Anderson. I'm coming live from the Costa del Sol, and we're actually doing an outside broadcast today. I'd love to say that we were sitting in front of the beach, but we're actually not. We're coming from Conrisa Cafe in La Cala de Mijas, and unfortunately, just in front of where we're sitting is the back door of a supermarket, and they decided to make some deliveries. So there's a lot of rattling and things around. You have to put up with that, I'm afraid. I'm delighted to welcome back my good friend Hansi Støkken. Welcome back, Hansi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anderson. A pleasure as always.
Well, I think the pleasure is going to be mine, Hansi. Some of you may have listened to our shows before, but Hansi has, well, it's a very understated, he calls it Conrisa Cafe, but it's really cafe gastrobar, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and I kind of agree to that. That's the kind of direction we're trying to point out. So, yes, it's good food and good drinks.
And for those who live around this area, I have to say, Hansi's wine tastings, which you have one on tomorrow.
Yeah, correct.
And we're going to preview it a little bit today.
Totally.
Are kind of legendary. Have you got a lot of people booked in for tomorrow,
Yeah,
Hansi?
as you know, it's not a big place we have, so we are actually fully booked. We don't have a big kitchen, but we will be 36 people tomorrow.
Yeah.
Very informal. It's a question of trying good food, good drinks, and have fun. That's the most. You know what Conrisa means? It means with a smile.
It means with a smile,
Exactly.
yes.
That's what it's all about.
And I tell you what, by the end of 6 wines and six courses in between it, people are smiling at the end of it.
You got 6. It's only 5 on the menu. Bloody hell! You got 6.
Well, he said I always have one to start with.
All right. Okay. Got it.
So, Hansi, tell us about what kind of things you've got planned for tomorrow. I said on the poster for this that we advertise locally that you're not going to buy most of these wines in the supermarket, are you?
No, that's true. As you know, and as mentioned before, we travel around Spain, go to obviously some famous wineries as Ribera Del Duero, Rioja, and so on, but there's a lot of good wine in Spain, as well as Cava, of course. We've been up to Penedès. So what we do is that we visit small wineries, and if we like what we try, we try to get an agreement with them, so we get the exclusivity of selling these wines in Andalusia, as well the option of exporting. So that's our passion. Maybe one day we might even make a dime.
Yeah, but I mean the trips around Spain are good fun, aren't they?
They are good fun. People always say that. It's like, yeah, right, hard work, just drinking wine. Well, it is fun, but it's also work. But for me, it's a combination of meeting people, because we go to small wineries, what they call pagos. So we sit down with the owners. It's not like you go to protos, which are big, for instance, and you just do a guided tour that takes you 3 hours.
Right.
So obviously you have a lot of respect for the products they have. That's like their baby. So maybe you try 10, 15 wines, and if you start 9 o'clock in the morning. And as you know, we don't spit out anything.
You don't spit it out.
No. And if you don't have any food by 1, you're kind of, it's so it is fun, but obviously it's a job. I mean, so we and what we do after that, then we ask them we either bring them down or we ask them to send us some samples, because we need to redo it. But we have an idea of what they can offer us.
Right.
And then what we do is what we just spoke about. Is like we put these wines on the wine tasting. That is our filter. Those are our judges.
Right.
Because if we have a wine that not quite sure, it's for the general public, and we see that 30 people, leave like half of the glass, then we know, no, that might do for Tinta de Verano, but that's it.
Right. Okay. And how often does that happen?
Well, it has happened, but apparently I think we're getting a bit better as well. So we have an idea what the general public is looking for.
Yeah.
It depends, because you go to areas and maybe they have excellent white wines and they try to make red wines, maybe the same grapes, and it doesn't necessarily mean it's a success.
Yeah.
So, but obviously they want to commercialize it, so it has happened, but yeah, not that often.
Yeah, I mean, I see people usually looking kind of puppy-eyed, hoping that there's still some left at the end of that bottle that they might just get the chance to sort of top up with,
Yeah, and they can, and as well, of course, they can buy the wines here. So I mean, that is the concept. But no, but it's I enjoyed. It's great
Yeah.
fun.
But I think it's nice as well, Hansi. You know, I would say that, yeah, most people around here drink wine. But I wouldn't think that many would claim to be wine connoisseurs.
No.
So, you know, if you go into some random restaurant and, you know, I've ordered house wines and they tasted very nice, don't get me wrong. But, you know, they're not necessarily being guided by the wine. So this gives them an opportunity to try things that they may not find elsewhere, isn't it?
Well, that's true, because I said these wines you won't find any other place. And for us, it's the quality and the price of the wine. So some wines are very commercialized, and there's nothing wrong about that, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist wines that are even better and they are
Right.
cheaper. Now, the combination of wine and food is very important for us, because I've also been to restaurants and I found the food absolutely superb. But when I see the wine list, I'm thinking, so we want, you know, the perfect match, that one kind of separately is good, but together is like an explosion. That's what we
Right.
try to achieve. So obviously before the wine tasting, we sit down, we go through, we pick the wines first, and then we think what kind of food will match.
Yeah, well, I heard a little argument this morning between you and your business partner, arguing about what was going to be the best combination to go with a particular wine. And I have to say, I mean, you have a magnificent chef in this
we do,
place.
we do.
Malala is Argentinian.
Yeah.
But as you said, Hansi, you know, you can't deal with 100 people because you actually have a relatively small kitchen. But the food, even if it's something that's not necessarily to my taste, you know, because I don't like fishy stuff very much, but I take a look at it and think, oh my God, this is a work of art.
Yeah.
And you know, you really have the combination of fantastic chef, you've got great wines, and you're really just bringing these two things together into a real experience, isn't it?
Exactly. That's what we achieve to do. And like you said, she's an excellent chef, and it's not because she's working, but she's actually studied art. And she started to work as a chef, she started to work doing the dishes in Tenerife about 20 years ago. She
Right.
kind of just gone, all the way up to become a chef. But I think she's putting her art studies into the food. Like you said, ingredients are important. Everything is fresh. As well the presentation. So it's like sometimes you get a plate in front of you and it's like, God, I can't really ruin this. It looks so nice.
I know.
But still you do, because you have to eat it.
That's what I'm saying, Hansi, that, you know, sometimes there's a dish that's maybe not quite to my taste, but I take a look at it and you think, oh, that just looks wonderful.
And that is also important, because we are different. So there will be a variety of taste and so on. And I think that's very important. It would be boring if we all had the same taste, because
Absolutely.
But we'll talk about a bit later as well, because sometimes we are a bit prejudiced. You know, you have an idea of, I don't like red, I don't like white, I like Rioja, I don't like Ribera, and so on. And sometimes we think we just have to open our mind and try things, and it might come out well.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, if I'm going out to eat, I have to be honest, I will tend to order white wine rather than red wine. But, you know, this kind of encourages me to try wines that I maybe wouldn't if I'm going out for a meal. And I have to say, I enjoy them.
I will so surprise you a bit later. But I'm going to start talking about wines.
Talk about wines, Hansi.
Okay, now, because if not, we won't have no wine and no food. We're going to talk. So we are starting our journey, and we're going from Malaga. We're going up to Rías Baixas. That is Galicia. It's the most famous wine area. So that will obviously be on top of Portugal. So Porto, which many people know. Obviously they have port wines. That's why it's called Porto.
Sure.
And only about half an hour drive, you have the borders to Pontevedra, which is the province in Galicia. Galicia have other famous cities such as Vigo and La Coruña, and the capital, as you probably know, is Santiago de Compostela, which is known for the pilgrims.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, Rías Baixas, they're famous for, especially famous for one grape that is called Alvarinho.
Okay.
So the wine you have in front of you is 100% Alvarinho. What's special about the Alvarinho grape is that it's a climbing plant, so to speaking. So usually if you go to any wine or any vineyard, you will see that, obviously they pick them on the ground.
Yes.
But this one climbs, so you pick them quite far up. So they say that the Atlantic breeze comes and touch and leaves flavors. I don't disagree to that, but you can pick and choose for yourself.
So
But
it's not salty then, is it?
no, it's not, and you would be amazed. It's like that's the thing, because the grape itself has a flavor that comes out of itself. Then you can kind of put an add-on to that. When it comes to climate, when it comes to, it's a long process. I mean, a sommelier is one that knows about taste. Obviously, the enologist is the expert from you put the seed in the soil until you actually harvest the grapes. And there's a lot of, it's a very, very, very detailed and, how should we say, specific process. Comes to fermentation, it comes to time. For instance, Pago, small bodegas, they can't do the harvesting more than 20 minutes away from the actual factory where they have the containers and stuff like that. And everything is hand-picked. That's why they call it Pago. So we are not very interested in going to the big ones. We don't want to be one of 1,000. We want to be one of a kind, so to speaking. But anyway, let's try this Alvarinho, shall we?
So we have an Alvarinho. It's a very pleasant sort of, it's kind of light, light colour, but not too pale, is it?
Now, coming from Rias Baixas, obviously Atlantic Ocean, well, this one will have to go with some kind of seafood. So on your left, it's such a shame we are not on television, Bill, because I even dressed up and cut my hair, so they can't see this excellent food.
Right, so tell us what we've got here. Now, there has to be a Norwegian twist to this.
There is a Norwegian twist. Now, usually Norway, I would say the Scandinavian countries, we are known for our open prawn sandwiches.
Yes.
Okay, so that would be white bread, butter, prawns, mayo, and lemon.
Okay.
Now, since we mentioned the chef and her experiments in art, this has a bit of a twist to it. So it has other herbs. There's even a bit of fried onion in there.
Right.
So I say tell Malala sometimes, it's like you're not in the kitchen, you're in your laboratory. It's like it's...
and I have to say, you say sort of prawn toast or open prawn sandwich, but I mean, this has got a lot of stuff. There's salad in there, there's tomato, there's herbs and spice. You can see, I don't know, it looks like chives or something chopped up on the top as well. Dave is sitting there watching us, Hansi. He is salivating.
I think so. You can see that.
He needs to wipe his mouth, I think.
He's drooling, I can see that.
Yeah.
And what you did right now is important because, as I said, wine on its own, the food on its own is one thing. Together, you get the match of the flavors of the food and the wine.
And the thing is, with prawns, I say I don't like fishy stuff very much, but good fresh prawns actually don't taste fishy, do they?
No.
There's a meatiness to them.
It is.
And it's a very light flavour, and neither the food overpowers the wine nor the wine overpowers the food.
Exactly. It's the perfect combination. And that's always the aim, of course.
Well, I'm gonna try another little bit of this, Hansi, because...
so will I. I was hungry.
Is this breakfast?
This is breakfast.
Yeah, I wish we could show pictures of this, but when we do the podcast, we will show pictures of this.
We will. It's not a bad start of the weekend, is it?
I've had worse.
Totally.
So, what do you think this is because this is I mean, if, you've explained where Galicia is. It's basically right in the sort of northwest corner of Spain, open to the Atlantic.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you think that there's some connection here between the sort of seafood and the flavors from these wines?
Absolutely, I think so. And usually, very often the best food for the wines you find in the same area.
Okay.
So, for instance, that one of the most famous dishes from Galicia is called pulpo a la gallega, which is squid made their way. And there's no other place you really find that. I mean, we had it here. but it doesn't taste the same. It's just different.
Yeah, but things don't, unless they don't travel very well. It's the difference in the climate, even where
As
you're
well.
eating it,
As
isn't it,
well.
or where you're drinking it.
Exactly.
So, okay. I mean, this is a delicious combination, Hansi, I have to say.
It's absolutely doable.
And-
I
and
can get used to this.
Especially for Dave, sitting up there in France. Cheers.
You left us.
Okay.
So,
So is this the order that you're going to be doing things in the wine tasting tomorrow?
that's right.
Okay.
That's right. This is one of the wines that will be on. You want me to move on?
You're the boss.
Am I?
Yes.
Oh, God.
I'm sorry, I'm munching into my microphone here. You have to just excuse the sort of munching sounds.
We are moving from as far north and west as you can go in Spain, down to more our sides of things. We're in Andalusia now, the second biggest region in Spain, as you know.
Okay.
So if we start from west, we have the borders toward Portugal, we have Huelva, we have Cádiz, the oldest city in Spain, Malaga we are now, then we have Granada, and we have Almeria. And Almeria borders Murcia. We are
Okay.
going to Murcia.
So you're going from the sort of top left corner of Spain down to the bottom right corner of Spain almost. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, Murcia is a quite small region. The capital is also called Murcia, so it's a region. And the wine district is called Jumilla.
Okay, that's spelled with a J, yes.
Yeah. So Jumilla is a wine area as well as a city. Now, you know that in Spain they talk about denominación de origen, which means that the government demands or put a standard for how you make your wine.
And what grapes you use and...
Exactly.
Yes, right.
So to be able to sell wine from that area and putting the DO, as they say, on it, you will have to follow these rules, right? And that's the case of all these areas we're going through now. So Jumilla in Murcia. The wine district itself goes beyond Murcia. It passes into Albacete. So 40% is in Murcia,
Right.
and 60% is in Albacete. And Albacete, you know, is part of Castilla-La Mancha.
Of course I knew that.
Yeah, I helped you out anyway.
You did.
Yeah.
Yeah. You usually ask me what the capital of Rioja is.
Yeah, we're getting there later. We're getting there later. I hope you wrote it down from last time. So this wine is actually a Sauvignon Blanc that you have in front of you. I don't speak French. I speak a few languages, including rubbish. So
Okay.
this
so
is a 100% Sauvignon Blanc
Right.
from Murcia. And if anybody told me 10 years ago that they would make a good white wine of Sauvignon Blanc in Murcia, I would say, you know, I'll start playing horses or whatever.
Right, okay.
Yeah. But this
All
is,
right.
let's try it.
This is a slightly lighter coloured wine, isn't it?
Now, try the prawns with this wine too, and tell me how you.
Would I be right in saying that, I mean, it's by no means a sweet wine, but it's fruitier, isn't it?
Correct. Any area, obviously the climate has a huge impact on the grapes. Now, Jumilla is quite far up, and the other part, I mean, the part that is in Albacete, you might find wineries that are, 1,000 meters above sea level, quite high up.
Okay.
But they can reach maybe 40 degrees in the summer and maybe 5-10 minus in the winter. So there's an extreme. For good, for bad, that brings out flavors in the wine. So what do you think about this prawn sandwich and this wine?
I think it goes very nicely, but it does It does create a different combination of flavors.
I agree. I think the first one is the perfect match.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been proven now, because if we were to go to Murcia and find some local food, it probably would, pair it better.
Right.
Even. That's what we try to intend to do.
All right. Okay.
And yeah,
It's interesting, when you say the name of this way, this is Sauvignon Blanc, it sounds, that sounds French, but it's actually the grape we're
it's the
talking
grape.
about, isn't
Exactly. That's very important. It's the grape.
Yeah.
And obviously, we don't speak badly about the French.
it? No, absolutely not.
Some of the best grapes come out of France, and even today, the wine production is absolutely fabulous. Spain, over the last 15, 20 years, have really caught up with them, also with their help.
Right.
But still, there are grapes that are more common in Spain than in France, for instance, and the other way around. Now, what I want to say about Murcia. Murcia actually has been in the news this week for another reason.
No, I hadn't heard it.
You play tennis?
No.
You heard of a thing that is called US Open?
Is that a golf tournament?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I said tennis. Do you know who won the US Open?
No idea.
Carlos Alcaraz. And where he's from?
Is he a tennis player?
Yeah, apparently, since he won the US Open, he must be.
He's from Murcia.
He is. El Palmar. So there you go.
Okay.
Not only wines, good tennis players as well.
Yeah, you have to appreciate, Hansi, that I haven't watched the TV for 20 years. So, people talk about these famous personalities, whether they're sporting or, I don't know, TV or whatever. And the chances are I haven't heard of them because I really don't follow the news very much.
They actually have put it in the papers as well, Bill, just for your information. Just not only on the telly, it's also been in the papers, in case.
Well, yeah, I don't read the papers very often either because they say that if you don't read the papers, you're uninformed, and if you do read the papers, you're uninformed. So they
disinformed,
okay.
I would say.
Yes, indeed.
Okay.
So that's yeah. So for people who are listening in other parts of the world, I mean, we've gone from Galicia to Murcia, and
Yeah,
they said that
which is
they're
like
kind of diagonally opposite.
12 hours drive, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it must be over
Yeah.
1,000
Yeah, it is.
kilometers
Exactly.
easily. And when you have to take all the windy roads to get there, you're probably more than 1,000 kilometers away. But it's not just that. You've got Murcia, which is very much Mediterranean.
Totally.
And you've got Galicia, which is very much Atlantic.
Absolutely.
So, even the soils in these places must be incredibly different.
They are.
And
They are.
that is going to impact on the way the grapes grow, the flavors that they develop.
Exactly. So I think that, grape is just like a diamond. So it's up to the enologist, to shape it, polish it, to get absolutely best result out of it. Which is obviously a challenge. But yeah, it's I don't remember now, but there are many areas all over Spain that has the Denominación de Origen.
Yes.
And like I said, I was surprised by this wine from Murcia, because if you told me 10 years ago, as I said, I wouldn't believe it, that is doable. So there's been a big evolution, so to speaking, of Spanish wine producing areas.
Right. And just trying this one a couple of times, Hansi, it is fruitier than
It
the
is.
Albarino.
No, it is.
But it also at the same time feels slightly lighter.
It depends, also a matter of taste and and we're back to the same, Bill, because some people might say, oh, best Sauvignon Blanc I ever tried.
Yeah.
A lot would say, and which I believe is good. But the pureness, the quality of the product needs to be there.
Sure.
And then it's your palate, then it's your, what.
Yeah, it comes down to individual taste at the end of the day. Yeah. Because I've tried on occasions really rather expensive wines, and sometimes I thought, but it doesn't do it for me. So it's not even just about price, is it?
No, it's not. Absolutely not.
So we're going to take a short break just now, Hansi. We've got 3 more wines to.
2.
2 more
I
wines.
promised your wife not to get you drunk.
Oh, okay. That is extremely disappointing.
I won't keep my promise, but
Dave, we're going to hand it over to you for some music, and we'll take the ads, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more about your wines, Hansi. Thank you.
Good afternoon from Expat Radio.
Welcome back. I'm Bill Anderson. We're doing an outside broadcast today from Conrisa Cafe and Gastro Bar in La Cala de Mijas on the south coast of Spain with my good friend Hansi Støkken. Welcome back, Hansi.
thank you, sir. Pleasure as always.
Yep. I'm 2 glasses of wine down because we're talking about Hansi's legendary wine tasting event, which
Exactly.
actually is on tomorrow. So we're doing a little sort of.
Yeah.
I was going to say. I was going to say a dry run, but there's nothing dry about this, is
No,
there?
no.
Absolutely not. So, Hansi, we've tried 2 white wines.
Yep.
What is the next one that you're going to be? We're going to be looking at and tasting.
We're going to go now inland. We're going to go where we do a bit of history now.
Okay.
I probably told you before, but anyway, we're getting old, so we forget. That's the good thing.
Yes, go on.
You know, 1492 is a very important year for the Spanish,
Yes,
and you know why.
I know why. Christopher Columbus,
And
the Americas,
and
and I don't know.
okay, well, the Spanish queen Isabel,
Yeah.
the Catholic queen, she started a little raid to kind of conquer the rest of Spain, right?
The reconquest of
The
Spain
reconquest
from
of
the Moors.
Spain,
Yes.
exactly. And that one she finished in 1492. The last place she kind of took over was Alhambra in Granada.
Yeah, that was the last Moorish king
That's right.
to leave Spain, wasn't it?
But this lady was from Castilla y León, which is the biggest region in Spain. And I actually read today, because I always say, what's the capital of? You know, Murcia, the capital is Murcia. And actually, Castilla y León, they don't have a capital.
Oh, they don't?
They don't. I thought it was León, but it's not. They don't officially have a capital. Now, that doesn't really matter. Within Castilla y León, we have a very famous wine district, but it's called Ribera del Duero.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And people might know that one because they have wines such as Protos, Viña Mayor, and if you ever heard of Vega Sicilia Único,
No, it doesn't ring a bell.
okay, it's supposed to be one of the absolutely top wines of Spain. If you look it up on internet, you can get the cheap versions maybe for 150 euros.
Whoa, right, okay.
That's why you haven't heard of it, Bill.
That's why, yeah, that's what about, I don't know, about 30 euros a glass sort of thing, isn't it?
Exactly. Now, so good old Queen started her journey, and she married a prince from a small little kingdom next door, which was in the old days, and then she decided to conquer the rest of Spain. Now, you know that you can speak Spanish, but there's an official name for the written language, which is called
Castellano.
exactly. And that's where it comes from, Castilla y León, because she comes from there. Okay? That was the
Right.
history lesson of the
Okay.
day. Now,
I think I got about 7.5 out of 10 for that one.
Yeah, you did.
I'm happy with that.
not doing bad. You'll pass the test, don't worry. Get your diploma. Now, on your right, you have a rosé.
I have a
All
rosé.
the big wineries up there are mainly famous for the red wines, such as Protos, such as Viña Mayor. And why? Because the grape is Tempranillo.
Okay.
That grape is also very common in Rioja, but it's the same story. They use it for red wine. Now, we've been buying red wine, which is absolutely fab, from small winery, father and son. They have a production of 40,000 bottles a year. Red wine, usually, you can have it as a young wine, which means I've not been touching wood, not been on barrel, and then you go, you know, like Roble, Crianza, Reserva, and so on.
And this is all based on the number
How
of
long
years
they've
that they're
been-
actually in barrels.
Exactly.
right,
And that
okay.
again depends on what region they're from. Because, for instance, in Crianza might have been 11 months in Rioja, while it's maybe only 8 months in Ribera, for
Okay.
instance. So it all depends. Now, father and son, 40,000 bottles a year of red wine. Roble, which means it's been on barrel for 6 months in their area. The son, which is also an artist, as a chef, he said, I will try to make a rosé wine of the same grape.
Okay.
And everybody's told him that you're a nutter. And he said, well, might be, but I'm going to give it a go. The one you have in front of you is a rosé wine made of the same grape, Tempranillo, 100%.
Right.
I don't know of any other winery that makes a rosé wine of 100%.
Yeah,
Tempranillo.
and so this is in the process of making, Hansi. How do you go from the same grape from a red wine to a rosé wine?
Because what, for instance, gives the color of the rosé wine is the skin of the grape.
Right.
So maybe rather than being there for, I don't know how long, can't tell, but maybe few hours, maybe it's been there for 15 minutes or whatsoever.
Okay.
Obviously, then it's a fermentation process,
Right.
which then they might put sulfates and so on. It all. So he made 1,000 bottles, and he's in the Ribera Del Duero, and that's not a big place actually. So he just sold a few in the village, and they liked it. And luckily, we were up here, and I said, what's the production? 1,000. And I said, how many have you sold? 300. So it's 700 left. Yes, I want half of it.
Okay.
So this is an exclusive wine,
Wow.
Mr. Anderson.
And
But then again, he will make more next year because I
But
ordered more.
it's a very interesting rosé wine. I haven't tried it yet, but in terms of even the colour, Hansi, sometimes rosés are sort of I don't know, a washed out pinky colour.
True.
Sometimes I've even seen them looking bright orange,
Yeah.
which actually doesn't feel that appetizing.
No, it doesn't.
But this is a very, for a rosé, quite a deep colour, isn't it?
You know the typical Spanish rosé wine, not taking, no offending anyone, is usually quite dark, and it
Yeah.
has a lot of flavor from the grape itself. It's not the how should we say, the filtrating procession and all that is not really. It's just what it is. Now, this is not a blush rosé like the French, for instance. It's
No.
darker,
It
but
is
it has to
darker,
do
yeah.
with the grape. But try it.
I will try
I was
it.
surprised. Still am.
Well, the first thing is it's a lot of flavour in this
A lot of
wine.
flavor. It's a
Um,
strong rosé.
But on its own, it leaves a kind of slightly dryish taste in the mouth. But is that coming down to tannins as you would have in red wines?
As well, of course, it's the same
Yeah.
grape, and since it's like a light red in a way,
Ah, right.
but
Okay.
this is more like you said. You can have a glass, sip, but it's a food wine, even if it's rosé.
That's what I was thinking, Hansi.
Yeah.
That this is a kind of wine. And can you tell us the name of this wine?
It's called J. Flores.
J. Flores. Okay.
That's
so,
the winery.
Yeah. All right. Okay. But people are not going to buy this in the supermarket, are they?
No, you won't find it.
Not with 1,000
No, no,
bottles, and you've
no.
got 350 of them.
Yeah, well, less now because we're drinking it, but apart from that. So that's why you have now on your left, on my right, you have some food. We have an entrecot with chimichurri, okay?
Yes.
And you obviously do know where chimichurri comes from, the
It
sauce?
well, yes. Apparently invented by a Scotsman.
Seriously?
So
Am I supposed to believe that?
it's from Argentina or from
It
South
is.
America.
It is.
And I'm not sure what's in it, but I did read somewhere that it was invented by someone called James C. Hurry, and he was called Jimmy Hurry or Jimmy Churri.
Yeah. Could be. Could be.
But my wife is always very sceptical about all these things. When I say that a Scotsman invented this or a Scotsman wrote that, and she's going, no,
Doesn't
it's
make
not
sense,
possible.
does it?
Okay, so we've got a very nice piece of entrecot
Entrecot.
here.
And then again,
And you
try
know,
the wine.
for the kind of Philistines amongst us, we think fish and white meat, you have white wine, and red meats, you have red wine. I mean, it's not necessarily the case, is it?
No.
But this is a wine with the kind of strength of flavour that can take something a little bit stronger,
Yeah.
can't it?
But it's back to the same. It's the perfect match. It's pairing something, because I wouldn't put this rosé with a really T-bone steak and with béarnaise sauce, for instance. I wouldn't.
No.
The food would kill the flavors of the wine. But this is a bit lighter, so it's okay. So it's always the same challenge: find the perfect match.
I'm sorry, I'm munching into my microphone again, but I can't help it. But actually, yes, This is a wine that's kind of heavy enough, Hansi, to take the flavors of the steak and of the chimichurri. Do you know what goes into the chimichurri for making it? No, nor do I.
Apparently the chef does.
Yeah, I mean, she has to because she's Argentinian, and there's a lot of it's a kind of oily. I'm not going to even call it a sauce. It's almost like a mixture of herbs and
It is.
garlic, in a sort of oily
Yeah.
mixture. It's a cold.
Look it up on internet. You will see.
I
Chimichurri.
probably will. But yeah, it goes extremely well with the meat. And again, you do another. This was part of the argument you had this morning, that you do another beautiful cheesy sauce to go with the entrecôte.
That's right.
But the decision in the end was that would overpower everything, and,
Exactly.
and it really wouldn't be the best to go with
Exactly.
with this wine. Yeah. So did you win or lose on that one?
Yeah. Well, I agreed.
You agree?
And I'm not even married.
Okay. So
Okay.
the area that this is coming from again is
Ribera del Duero.
Ribera del Duero.
The city nearest to it is called Valladolid, which for me is like a miniature of Madrid.
Yeah, well, Valladolid was at one time the capital of Spain.
It used to be.
And so, Hansi, this is going to be a new experience for your guests, but because I guess you haven't served this wine before.
I have.
Oh, you have?
I
Right,
have.
okay. How do you keep it in? I mean, you do these wine tastings every 2 weeks. So how do you keep the variety so that people don't come and sort of say, oh, well, you had this one last time, or...
Because it's back to basic. We have this wine tomorrow. People that attend tomorrow have had this wine before, but it's a different dish. It's a different.
You serve it with different foods
Exactly.
and different combinations.
So
Yeah.
we're just trying to bring up the most of the wine and the food. But I sold a few bottles of this wine because they said, oh, this is something exclusive, and it is. But it's not due to the production. It's that actually someone had, pardon my French, the balls to do something differently and
Right.
think differently out of the
Yeah.
box. And I just love the result. I don't know, like I said, in
It's-
Spain or any other country, don't know of any rosé wine made 100% of the Tempranillo
Over
grape.
Tempranillo, yeah. And let's be honest, the Ribera del Duero is really famous for its red wines,
Yeah, it is.
isn't it? If I'm going out somewhere and we're going to have red wine, my automatic thing, looking on the menu, would go, do they have a Ribera? Because they produce some excellent red wines from there. I've never had a bad one.
You can't go wrong. True.
So this is really, I mean, this is like gold dust, this stuff.
This is dangerously good.
It is dangerously good. Another little sip of that. Oh, yes. Yeah. And actually, it is incredibly different with the food.
It is.
Because
and that's the
it's a-
whole idea to it. Because
My first taste of it, it felt a little bit dryish. You have some food with it and try it again, and you don't get that same sensation twice.
Exactly. But as said, you have to think it's like a light red. That's what it is. It's
So I
it's
think
it's
that's
a lighter food version of, because the red they make, which has been 6 months on barrel, would be perfect for a T-bone steak with any sauce, barbecue or
Yeah.
béarnaise or whatever.
Yeah.
This one wouldn't. The food would kill the flavor. So that's why we're doing a lighter piece, entrecôte, not that strong chimichurri. Back to the same, perfect match.
Yeah.
The balance between
Yes.
flavors.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Anderson,
Go on.
let's see if I can surprise you. I should have blindfolded you, but I can't because
But
maybe
I'm-
Dave wouldn't.
because I'm eating my food at
Exactly,
the
you
same time
need,
here,
you need to see
Hansi,
it.
Yeah.
Now, we done wine tastings, small groups, bigger groups, and so on. And even sometimes maybe a couple comes in and listen, I given birthday present my husband a wine tasting. He's like, of course it's okay. So might just be a couple, and we give them 5 wines and 5 tapas. And I remember clearly, a few years back, I had a couple that came in, and that was the case. She had given him as a birthday present a wine tasting.
Sure.
And I was the waiter. And he said from moment one, I'd only drink red. And I said, fine, no problem. So I just, he had the same food as his wife. I just trying to find the right red for the food. Obviously, that is harder when you come to typical, for instance, like I said, the first we had today, prawn sandwich.
Yeah.
But you will even find that. There are red wines that would match that. Now, we finished the wine tasting, and I said, I would like you to try a wine. Yeah, of course. But I have to blindfold you. I said, okay. So basically what I did, the one you have now in front of you is a white wine,
Yeah.
but it's been on barrel for 5 months,
Okay.
which means that you get the flavors as a barrel will give to any wine.
Sure.
Then obviously the grapes, they respond differently to the barrel. I mean,
Is
the
there a-
oak.
Is there a chemical reaction
It's
goes
a
on
chemical
here?
reaction.
Yeah.
That's what we call in Spanish torrefactors. It's like you get vanilla, chocolate, coffee.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So I usually white wines are served cool, a bit cooler. So I took it out a bit before, and I served him a glass, and I said, since you only drink red, but this is a different kind of red. This is amazing, is it? This is really amazing, is it?
Take your blindfold off.
Exactly.
How did he react, though?
No, but he was surprised. It's like, so sometimes we just, in our minds we say that, but there are always exceptions.
Right.
So what I'm trying to prove now, you have now a white wine.
Okay, I'm going to close my eyes. And
The grapes are different. Maybe that's also the reason. This is 95% of Viura, which is not a very common grape, and 5% Malvasi. And it's been 5 months on barrel.
it's very different, isn't it?
Very different. It's not a white wine at all.
You don't have, the second one that we tried, the second white that we tried, there was
Yeah,
Albert
Sauvignon Blanc.
The Sauvignon Blanc,
Mhm.
I said was very fruity. This is a much drier white wine, isn't it?
It is.
You're not getting the same fruitiness
No,
that you
because the flavors of the barrel has made big impacts on as well as its different grapes.
Right.
Try it now with the food. That's the
Okay.
thing, because this could be a red wine.
Yeah, we've still got the entrecôte here, and it actually sits very comfortably with red meat, doesn't it?
It does. And, Mr. Anderson, to repeat the lessons, this one comes from Rioja.
It's a white Rioja, right? Okay.
And then, as we've spoken before, Rioja is a region, county, as well as a wine area.
Right.
Now, the vine area kind of unfolds 3 different regions. Rioja itself, Navarra, and the Basque Country. The wine you're having now is from the Basque Country.
Okay. I didn't realize Rioja went all the way up to the Basque Country.
They do,
There we go.
as well as Navarra.
And
And then, do you know the name of the capital of the Basque Country?
well, I don't know. I'm going to say Bilbao.
You got some study to do, you.
Yeah.
It's called Vitora.
What's it called?
Vitora.
Vitora. Okay.
Or in Basque, Gasteiz, if I pronounce it right.
Yeah. They do pronounce things a bit strange in the Basque Country.
They do,
compared
they
to
do.
here, yeah.
And then Navarra, that city and the capital is quite famous. It's called Pamplona.
Okay.
And then in Rioja itself, what's the capital?
Logroño.
Finally learned it.
Finally
Good boy.
learned it, yeah. The thing is, when you get to my age, Hansi, the hard drive gets a bit full, and we have to select which information we store and which information we just kind of let drip out at the other end. You know?
Maybe you need to format it.
Maybe it needs reformatted, yes. So, this wine you're saying is Rioja, but it's from the Basque Country.
From a little village that is called El Ciego. El Ciego,
right.
in Spanish, as you know, means the
A
blind.
blind person.
And the bottles are called caucus, which is Old Latin for blind.
Blind. So this is a Caucus wine.
This is a caucus wine.
All right, okay.
And to give you an idea of the area, opposite, on the other side, you have a famous winery called Marqués de Riscal.
We've got some excited people in the background there, wouldn't we?
We do.
About it?
We
Yep.
do. They were far more quiet when they came.
Well, that's right, but they've had 3 glasses of wine already, Hansi, so...
Probably.
Yeah.
I had a cold and I feel much better already.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
So-
Can't feel anything anymore.
So what you're trying to say to us is this is not sort of recreational drug, this alcohol, it is
No.
medicine.
Exactly. Nature medicine.
Nature.
Totally. All natural.
Well, I did notice on the bottle of wine that I had recently, it had a sticker that said vegan, and I thought, finally, I can make a contribution to veganism by drinking my wine.
This is a lush. Sorry, folks, but this is just lush.
It is so good, isn't it? And I have to say, I mean, I would normally go for a white wine. I said this earlier, but this is a very different type of white
Totally.
wine. It just doesn't compare to any of the others that I like.
No.
Excellent.
Sorry. That's the cold.
That's a cold. Okay. So, Hansi, you've got a full house pretty much for tomorrow.
Uh-huh.
We won't be able to join you tomorrow because I'm doing a wedding. It's one of the one of the nice things that I get about being a local politician down here. I can conduct weddings, so we're going to be out at that.
Well,
But I hope you have a very successful afternoon.
I think it will. It usually is.
Have you ever had a bad one?
No. I'm not going to start tomorrow.
No, and the temperatures have dropped a little
Yeah,
bit
they have.
now. So it's actually quite nice
Yeah, it is. Sit
to
outside.
sit outside and you're not just sitting sweating.
Yeah.
And I think you can appreciate the the different wines and the temperatures now a bit easier. Hansi, we're just about to finish and go into some music.
Yep.
Thank you so much for allowing me to join you here today.
Pleasure as always, Mr. Anderson.
Have a great day tomorrow.
Do my best. You do.
And for all of you that are listening out there from probably 80 countries, 95,000 listeners, have a fantastic weekend. And it's goodbye from me from Conrisa Cafe in La Cala de Mijas on the Costa del Sol. Have a fantastic weekend.
Take care. Bye-bye. Can I cough now?
You can cough now.